Hello everyone! I hope you're enjoying the beginning of fall and this cooler weather. Today we're going to be reading the story Fletcher and the Falling Leaves, and then we have a nice autumn craft to do. So let's get started. Fletcher and the Falling Leaves. The world was changing. Each morning, when Fletcher bounded out of the den, everything seemed just a little bit different. The rich green of the forest was turning to a dusty gold, and the soft swishing sound of summer was fading into a crinkly whisper. Fletcher's favorite tree looked dull, dry, and brown. Fletcher was beginning to get worried. "I think my tree is sick," said Fletcher. "What's wrong with it?" his mother asked. "Its leaves are turning brown," said Fletcher. "Don't worry, it's only autumn," she said. Fletcher ran back to his tree and patted the rough bark. "Don't worry, it's only autumn," he said. "You'll be feeling better soon." But the tree didn't get better. Each day more leaves turned brown. One morning, the wind blew a small brown leaf off of a branch. Fletcher jumped up and caught it, very gently, in his paw. "Don't worry, tree. I've got your leaf. I'll fix you." Fletcher looked around, picked a piece of grass, and carefully tied the leaf to a branch. Just then, another gust of wind ruffled Fletcher's fur. The little leaf shook itself free and fluttered back to the ground. Fletcher picked it up again and thought very hard. Then he poked the leaf onto a twig and pushed it down firmly. "Now you hold on tight," said Fletcher. "No more flying around." The little leaf gave a tiny rustle in reply. The next day, a strong wind was blowing through the forest. Fletcher rushed out of the den and ran all the way to his tree. Lots of branches were bare, and little lost leaves spun everywhere. "Don't worry, tree. I'll catch them for you, I promise." Round and round whirled Fletcher after the swirling leaves. "Leaves? Wonderful! Just what I need for my nest," said a squirrel. "But these belong to the tree," said Fletcher. "Don't take them away." "The tree doesn't need them anymore," said the squirrel, bounding off. "Help! Help! The wind and the squirrel are stealing our leaves!" cried Fletcher. "Leaves? Terrific! Just what I need to keep warm," said a porcupine, rolling around. "But these belong to the tree," said Fletcher, plucking leaves from the porcupine's needles. "Not any more," snuffled the porcupine, and away he rolled. "Help! Help! The wind, the squirrel, and the porcupine are stealing our leaves!" cried Fletcher. Suddenly, a flock of friendly birds swooped down from the sky. They picked up the leaves in their beaks and poked them onto the tree's branches. Soon the tree was leafy again, and Fletcher flopped down and smiled. "Thank you, birds, thank you," he gasped as the birds fluttered away. He lay looking up through the leaves at the sky and drifted off to sleep. But the wind continued to blow and the branches still danced. The leaves shivered and shook themselves and began to wriggle free. They tossed and turned and twitched and twirled and tumbled to the ground. They brushed Fletcher's ears and nose and filled his dreams with a whispering sound. When Fletcher finally woke up, he couldn't believe his eyes. Instead of a roof of dancing leaves, all he could see were bare branches against the sky. "Oh, tree, I'm so sorry," gulped Fletcher. "All your leaves are gone." But then he saw high in the branches, one small leaf still holding on. "I won't let the wind steal that one," said Fletcher, and he began to climb. He crawled along to the last leaf and held it firmly onto its branch. All day long the wind blew, the branch bounced, and Fletcher held tight. "I'll stay with you, leaf," he said. "Don't worry." But then, with a sudden whoosh of the wind, the branch bounced high. With a plip, the leaf let go and fluttered like a little flag clutched in Fletcher's paw. Fletcher looked sadly at the leaf he had promised to save. He carried it carefully down the tree and back to the den. He made a cozy little bed for it and gently tucked it in. But all night long he could only think of his tree, all on its own. At dawn, Fletcher tiptoed outside. The wind had finally stopped blowing and the air was cold. The moon still hung in the clear sky, and pale stars glimmered. As he came to his favorite tree, Fletcher saw a magical sight. The tree was hung with 1,000 icicles, shining silver in the early light. "You are more beautiful than ever," whispered Fletcher. "But are you all right?" A tiny breeze shivered the branches, making a sound like laughter. And in the light of the rising sun, the sparkling branches nodded. Fletcher gave his tree a hug, then went back to the den for a nice warm breakfast. Have you noticed any trees changing colors and losing their leaves? Today, our craft is something you can make using the leaves you might find on the ground. What you'll need is a paper plate, scissors, tape, glue, leaves, scraps of paper in fall colors, and a string. We're going to start with our paper plate, and we're just going to cut the center out. It doesn't have to be perfect, just cut it so that there's a hole in the middle. Now that our plate is a ring, we're just going to tape that open edge. I'm going to take a piece of tape and just tape it together. I'm going to put a piece on the back too, to make sure it doesn't come undone. Now our plate is a ring, and this is going to be the shape of our wreath. So all you have to do is take your leaves and your paper, and you're just going to glue them all over. that everything is attached to your paper plate and your wreath looks complete, the last step is to attach a string so you can hang it up. So you're just going to flip it upside down, get your string ready, take a piece of tape. I'm going to put my ends next to each other, put them down on the back of my plate, and just tape them there. And I lost a leaf in the process. Now your wreath is done and you can go hang it up. I hope you had fun today, and we'll see you again soon.